Welcome everyone. This is once again your host Shailesh bringing you live from NZ World News as we always try to make information, awareness, positivity. And this is the time when the elections are going to held next month very soon for the local government. So I thought why not take some of the opportunities of some of the brilliant candidates who are standing for our nation to make it better. And it starts from the community. So local government, local board is so important and the people who stand and who try to make some difference. So today I have the pleasure to invite Raphaela, who is going to be from, I think, Albert Eden, Epsom, Albert Eden, or what do you call it? Eden.
We're the Albert Eden Puketepapa
That's right,
ward.
Albert Eden, Puketepapa. And this is an area where it was very much in the news when the climate change happened, when the floods happened, and we were one of the prime areas affected as well. But also, we are the most diverse area. Albert Puketepapa area is the most diverse area. And today we have Rafaela, who has come us to give us her insights, and we're going to talk to her about her expertise, the skills that she's going to bring to her role if she gets elected. So, listeners, welcome Rafaela for this beautiful conversation I'm going to have. Welcome Rafaela for this beautiful and thanking you for doing this for us. Let's start about introducing yourself because she is, if I tell her about it, one thing that I want to focus is she's an architect by profession as well. So, well educated, well community driven, and very much passionate about things and matters to us. Is when you call an architect, you'd always think about the buildings, you always think about the houses. So, we're going to touch a lot on that. So, tell me something about you and your background a little bit, Rafaela, so I can talk further to you.
Amazing. Thanks to begin with. Thanks so much for having me today. It's really wonderful to see the engagement in local government and the agenda of what you're promoting with positive news.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a mother, but I'm also an architect and I actually run my own practice. So I have been running my own practice for the last 5 years, but I've been working in the built environment for over the past decade now, but specifically looking at building buildings in the built environment for social and environmental impact. So really being cognizant in terms of how we actually build for climate resilience
Mm.
um, and in social equity. And I think that the built environment has a huge part to play in this,
Yeah, we'll
which
touch on that. Let's see. So let's start with this. What's your vision and why do you think you need to stand for this local community and make a difference for this local with through the local government, obviously. What really went through your mind that you have seen all these years and how much do you think it's important to be a part of this process and involved in the community, in the local government? What's your visions on that?
my visions on that. Because of the work that I do, I'm engaged with a huge range of people. Um, I work with communities, I work with iwi and mana whenua groups, I work with businesses, I work with housing developers. And I think I came to realize that these projects are one project at a time.
Mhm.
And although they have a lot of impact, they're small when you think about a city scale.
Yeah.
And I think this has driven me to think about the kind of what local government, from a governance perspective, can bring in terms of leadership in this space. So that's what's driven me to go
Sure.
for local government, to use my professional expertise
Mhm.
um, and apply it to a governance level and ensuring that we're building for climate change and ensuring we're kind of considering equity and access going forward in our communities.
So, what have you seen so far that you know that you would like to stand for this election, but not just election, but like make a difference? to the communities that what we have seen
Mm.
needs a basic change or needs a fundamental change that you think and you could make that difference through your expertise and through your skills. What is the one thing or two things that you would like that you have seen so far in the community?
So I guess I'll give a couple of examples.
Hmm.
I think we need to be really going forward. We've got a housing crisis in Tamaki Makaurau, um,
Absolutely.
and what has happened by this current government in the last couple of years in terms of stopping promoting a lot of kāinga ora developments that were really key in our area in Puketepapa. It's really advocating up that we need to be focusing on building density and good affordable housing, but putting it in the right places.
Mm,
So I think, and I think this is where sort of my expertise can come in, is ensuring that we're
mm,
building housing and density where infrastructure already exists. So we're not
yeah.
building housing where uh, it can't take kind of the additional density, especially when we think about flooding.
Mm,
But also where kind of everything that you need to live a good life exists as well. So we want to be ensuring that we're like building where mixed use developments, ensuring that businesses
mm,
support housing, ensuring that we've got enough parks and playgrounds
sure.
to 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 support higher density living.
Mm,
And also that ensuring that those playgrounds, those parks and playgrounds are fit for purpose for everybody's needs. So they're accessible for one. Um, and I've really come to appreciate this since having a child and
mm.
just being able to get
It's
round
important.
Puketepapa
Yeah.
and having accessible access is really crucial and is often overlooked at bare minimums of kind of accessible footpaths.
Yeah.
But also when we're thinking about high density, um, we need to think about you're living in a smaller space, but
Yeah.
if you've got enough amenity around you to support that smaller living, um, it, it, it doesn't
Yeah.
it becomes positive. So uh, I think something like when we look at what's happening at Monte Cecilia at the moment
Mhm.
with the off leash, on leash issues, we need to, there is going to be a master plan that is done for that. And I think that's a very specific example of
Mm,
kind of expertise that I can bring to the table to ensure that that master plan is actually considering the needs of all our communities, also
yeah.
keeping all our communities safe. So um, yeah,
So
that's
housing is one of the key and important factor you definitely think, and we all think that this is when with floods and with the climate change, housing has become, as you said, is the most important part of human life. And
mm,
uh, but touching on that, also I wanted to touch further a little bit what dynamics and changes that we have seen after the floods and after the whole issues of housing, whether people are getting settled their houses after the floods. There is a lot of grievances and concerns that there is not yet settlement done for many people or not the way it needs to be. They are still struggling in their housing. However, most importantly, I want to see now going forward, what would be your thing to tell the government, to the central government, to the local government that, the houses that are built based on after the floods aftermath, is there needs to be more cautious, more conscious about building houses, the locations where it is, and the way of type of houses that we need, because
very much
ultimately
so.
secure and safety is the paramount for every human, right?
Oh, definitely.
So,
Um, which is why I'm very supportive of the changes that are being proposed that the councillors pushed through last week in regards to Plan Change 78,
mhm.
um, which is now going out for public consultation, and City Vision's position on that is really encouraging people to our communities to give place feedback on that plan, so that they can then take that
Mm.
feedback into account for final changes before that goes through. So we're really encouraging of that. But what that plan is doing is it's ensuring that we're not building in areas which can't take the capacity of high density housing. So
Yeah.
it's under the MDRS standards, you could build three
Yeah.
stories anywhere, and this plan is saying no, actually, some areas do not have the capacity to take that housing. So we need to be putting it in places where there's stormwater infrastructure in place. It's not in a floodplain.
Mm.
It's not on a coastal location that
Yeah.
has potential to um, slide into the sea.
Mm.
So all those things are so important and need to continue to be
Absolutely.
be reassessed. But it's also um, considering what type of housing we're building going forward. So
Exactly. Exactly.
um, I, I'm I'm a big advocate that housing is not just putting a roof over somebody's head. It's actually building a life for people.
Absolutely.
So
Mm.
it's all about ensuring that we're building communities,
Mm.
not just a house. It's about ensuring that house is of high quality, um, and it's about ensuring that there's all the wraparound infrastructure that people need to live their lives, and that includes things like transport and
Yeah.
a local supermarket um, and amenity that they can go to on the weekends. So yeah.
Not only that, I also want to touch on that. Like, if there used to be a time where houses were built, particularly not just near the transport or near the trains or near the buses or everything, amenities, but also the house itself was having a little bit of space for the kids, like the
Mm.
back space or the front space for them to secure safety and enjoy. But over a period of time now, we have seen that the houses have been shrinked to a minimum level. And then
Yes.
the kids have got no room, literally, to play or to
Mm.
spend time at the backyard or at the front yard. How do you view this change as, and then compared with the two-story, three-story, which used to be, or the unitary plan, under the unitary plan, where you can increase your flows, but more about like the stormwater issue, the infrastructure, the sewerage issues that comes along when you build houses or when you build stories and more people stay in one place, then obviously the pressure is more on the infrastructure. How
Yes,
how
totally.
how do you view this as? What's
So
your
so
view
I
on
I think this was also a thing that occurred out of the MDRS standards where
that?
permeable versus impermeable area
Yeah,
was um, impermeable area
sure.
was the restrictions on that were loosened.
Mm,
Um, but because the MDRS standard incentivized uh, terrace housing in a strip, it
hmm.
meant that suddenly we were getting heaps of low actually low density housing on high value land with minimum permeable area. So, I think this is is a big responsibility that we need to think about is how we can incentivize um, higher density,
Mm,
um, but ensuring that is equally met by the
mm,
amenity that people need to live their lives. So,
mm.
um, parks, playgrounds,
Yep.
um, which is also important for
Mm,
stormwater infrastructure. So I think that council does actually have a role to play in
mm.
ensuring
Yeah.
that the the infrastructure is in place. And when I say infrastructure, like the roadmap is in place to
Yeah.
ensure that it is encouraging that form of development, which I think, yeah, the latest proposal to the plan change is a step in the right direction in that sense.
Sure, sure. So in terms of now what we are seeing currently is, effect of the floods, effect of the issues that came along with the climate change or with the floods, literally. the businesses where the buildings, their premises, that were also affected, whether it is the stormwater, whether it is the other infrastructure issues that came along with it. And people are suffering. The businesses are suffering, obviously. When the business suffer, the whole family suffers, as we have
Sure.
noticed. So, in terms of your role, if you become or if you get elected or not, what's your thoughts on these businesses to be looked after? Because we have always seen that businesses, they do come and they raise this concern, but then part of the thing is related to central government, part of the thing is related to local government, and then they don't take those decisions as swiftly, as promptly as we would like to have those decisions so that they can support these businesses, support these premises where they are affected. What would you think that you would, like to advocate, you would like to raise concern, or how you would like to more become, how do we make more resilient to these kind of processes, these issues? What's your view?
Yeah. I mean, at a very basic level, I think,
Yeah,
how we ended up in 2023
yeah.
um, was as a result of um, a long-standing
Mm,
failure to
mm,
invest in infrastructure in Auckland.
yeah,
So I think a part of that going forward is to ensure that we are actually um, that has to continue to be invested in. And
mm,
I don't think I know I think that is I
yeah.
think most people can accept that. So um, that is something that is very key.
Mm,
Um, I think also in terms of how we then, if we're going to invest in that infrastructure, there's the potential to cause massive
mm,
disruptions to
mm,
businesses, which this has been a big issue with the stormwater upgrades that have been occurring around Puketepapa.
mm,
It's also been a massive issue for Auckland Central with CRL.
mm,
Um, so I think it's how we actually create a strategy and provide support to ensure that businesses
yeah.
have some financial support while those changes are occurring.
Yeah.
So, um,
Well, one of the things that we have noticed is like whether it's any local board or anything that you guys have got certain limited things to do and limited
mm,
powers to do. But most importantly, you have the power to communicate. And I think what what we have seen is that there is not enough communication being done through the communities,
yes,
whatever that decision would be. Ultimately, communication helps and restricts a lot of anxiety, a lot of ambiguity. How would you think that you could bring that gap or fill in that gap of communication? Whatever you guys do a lot of work behind the scene and you want to do a lot of things, but then that communication aspect, what you have done or what you
yes,
want to present, is probably not enough, I would say. What do
totally. So, I mean, I think from that perspective, it's really ensuring that we are out in the community
you?
and actually, um, holding things like clinics to
Yeah.
ensure that
Mm,
we are providing the information and
mm,
the support to let businesses know and the wider community what is
correct.
going on.
Mm,
Um, I also think that there are some very basic things that can be employed,
yeah,
um, such as media, social
correct.
media,
Correct.
um, uh, good old signage, um,
Yeah,
just basic tools that can
absolutely.
ensure that people feel like they've been communicated to, they're in the loop, and also they have the space to actually provide feedback on what's going on.
Mm. Particularly when in today's world, when we have such a social media impact, a single communication goes viral or goes to reaches everywhere. But positive news or news that has been like, matters to the community from every single day point of view, that they need to be updated or upgraded or, informed.
Yeah,
These channels needs to be used more widely by the local government and the central government, any other government, to present this news, present this information, literally.
definitely. Because I mean, we're working across generations, so
Yeah, correct,
um,
correct, correct. Absolutely.
we we need to. It's a multi-pronged approach. Like one of the things that we've done when
Mm-hmm.
we've in our practice, we created a newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
um, a newspaper that
Mm-hmm.
we then dispersed, and then we put in local businesses,
Mm-hmm.
and then provided um, email or a postal address contact that people could then come back to us on feedback on what we were proposing. And it was actually amazing how much interaction that we have subsequently got through that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's finding innovative ways.
Mm.
I think we need innovation. We need
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
and
what are the other things, Rafaela, that you think is really important for Puketepapa? We saw a lot of issues or concerns raised, even simple things when it comes to crime, when it comes to reporting of crimes, when it comes to literally, hearing the stories from the community, from the businesses about their issues regarding crime. And yes, police are doing the bit, little bit here and there, and the central government is putting some funding for that. And so as the local government trying to create, value-based events for the communities. How do you see this aspect of resolving or literally getting more and more, again, more and more information, more and more awareness to become resilient, to become like a social integration that is lacking, what I feel is when it comes to businesses, when it comes to neighborhoods, when it comes to all that, we need that social integration. Do you also think that that needs and more work needs to be done on this area side of the fence where people are more vigilant and aware of when such crime or what such issues happen?
yeah, I mean, I guess as a starting point,
Hmm.
I just want to acknowledge that it's a tough time out there for people. So
Absolutely.
both from a business perspective and
Hmm.
um, everyday community perspective.
Hmm.
And so I guess crime, I think our position on crime from City Vision's perspective is that um, crime doesn't happen in isolation. So we need to actually think about at a local board level, what are the things that we can do to ensure that people feel safe? Um,
Yeah.
and I think that is can become can be approached from two different directions. There's an
Hmm.
environmental approach, so considering how we are approaching the urban realm, ensuring that there's adequate lighting, that
Hmm.
the local board can control, ensuring that we're designing safe streets, safe parks.
Hmm.
Well, we're implementing that kind of infrastructure for that.
Hmm.
Um, I think from a social level, it
Yeah.
is about ensuring that we can at in our powers in which we have at a local level, which are
Hmm.
limited, but uh, it's about ensuring that we're building community. So I think that is can be achieved through um, supporting associations and groups that are already doing incredibly good work in our community, ensuring that
Sure.
they still have um, access to funds,
Yeah.
um, and being able to partner them with other existing council organisations to kind
That's
of
right.
grow and do better work. Um, but in terms of a communication about specific crime events,
Mhm.
was that the original question?
Hmm. Yeah, basically, I wanted to see, like, when you want to, when these thing event happen, whether it is floods, whether it is crime, whether it is anything that impact the businesses and
Mm,
the community.
yeah,
One of the major things is the resilience we talk about. We talk about sustainability. We talk about all those things which really makes the community thrive and grow and
yeah,
also keep them together. So based on that, I was trying to refer that when crime threats happen in the community, the social integration is one of the key aspect that I feel over the year period of time has been ignored, because when everything goes well, you don't realize it's
you, you
important.
don't you don't address it. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't address it. So
Yeah, sorry for sure.
yeah,
Um, no, which I think, at a, I think at a local level, it's again about communicating what support is out there
correct.
that we can provide.
Hmm.
And there is some really good support occurring, from neighbourhood watch groups to,
Correct.
um,
Correct.
also, I think it's, you know, supporting supporting neighbourhoods to actually take that role on themselves. So, for example, where I live on my street, we've got a street WhatsApp, and
Hmm.
so we're constantly in conversation with each other about what's going on in the street.
Hmm.
Then our street also receives funding from the local board for various activities, such as a composting activity. But what that is doing is it's enabling us to all get to know our neighbours in our community,
Hmm.
and so it's a grassroots level way of like
Correct.
ensuring that
Correct.
we're
Crime
yeah,
patrol, neighborhood, these are the grassroots levels. But then you have got this other side of the coin in today's world, that you have a limited budget, and a budget directed to certain things, budget directed to certain things. And every area has got different dynamics. Every suburb has got different dynamics. But overall, the funding is there, the budgeting is there, but whether it is utilized to the right way direction, or whether it is gone to the optimum level utilization of those budgets for the key areas to be maintained, resilient, and sustained, is the challenge for the local board or for the councillors like you, who would be then meeting that obligations and making the community more safer and more better. In that terms, what would you think that your expertise, since you have grassrooted, you have neighborhood, you said near your own home and near everything that you have access to? Access to yourself is one aspect, but then that access to everyone in your area is the same. How do you make that, ensure that as a, you
so
know?
again, I think that's a communication thing. So
Mm,
I think it's at a local level, we
mhm,
need to ensure
mm,
that that is communicated, that that kind of financial support is potentially available to people.
mm,
Um, and because I probably most people don't know that currently.
mm.
I mean, I think a lot of people at a very basic level would probably need to have a communication on what a local board does, because I think some people don't even um,
Absolutely. And I think I want to ask this question very prominently for all the listeners who are listening here, that many people don't know how it is interlinked. Like you talked about your expertise in housing as an architect, and then transportation, infrastructure, they are all are linked with housing as well. And then the safer communities, whether businesses, whether premises, whether infrastructure, that also is all linked. But then people view it in a different way. If I have a problem with my business and a crime, I will only talk about crime, but I don't understand the linkage of that with the infrastructure, of the transport, of the community, of the access. I won't know that. And that's the key part, is where you guys can come in and say, hey, look, this is all linked up. We have to address it, everything together, so that everything gets better. And that you rightly said, that there is a communication, again, is a huge thing. And because everyone's level of understanding is different, and everyone only looks at from their point of view rather than as a community point of view, and you are there as a community point of view, how would you make that gap narrow? so that there is not huge gap in understanding of the
Yeah.
community.
Um, I mean, I think it's human instinct to
Yeah,
protect
I know.
protect yourself
Human instinct
first.
to protect us. Exactly.
So,
That's where I was trying to address that.
yes. So, I mean, I think again, it's about making ourselves available to the
Mhm.
community, listening to
Exactly.
our community,
Right.
um, educating about um, what what the local board has the um,
Mm.
has the potential to do, and what support they can then provide.
Mm.
So, and I think again that's got to be through a multi-pronged approach of physically making yourself available, being at being out there, being present, being in community at community events, so that people can come up and talk to you
Mm.
and ask those questions.
Mm.
But it also, I think there's probably, yeah, just an evolving education piece that needs to occur by the local board.
One of the things also you talked about, yeah, because of your background of architect also, and then that is completely relatable to the environment that we live in or the environment that changes from time to time, particularly when floods happen or when climatic change happens. How do you think the environmental, like, we always talked about cure once it is done, once it has happened. But to prevent, we don't focus much. And you, as a person of that knowledge background, whenever you build house, you have to first make sure that you prevent certain things when you build houses, right? So prevention is better than cure, as we always say. But how much do you think is been looked into when you build houses, when you build communities, when you build, environmental, when you create an environment towards that? What's your view on that in terms of what we want today in today's world? Prevention is better than cure. So we have to make sure that, whenever you build houses, what are the infrastructure available there? What is the, repercussions if we build? And whether do we need that much or this much? All those things that we talk about. How much do you think is now your view or you will be advocating for those kind of things, as a elected person?
I mean, I think that is our role to advocate for it because it's not in the interest of a private developer to
Correct.
consider those things. So I mean, this is this kind of if we're going to get to the core of why I'm running for local government, it is
Hmm.
the advocacy piece to
Mm.
ensure
Yeah.
that at a governance level we are
Mm.
considering um, resilience and safety of our
Mm.
neighbourhoods and communities. So I think it is crucial.
Yeah.
And
No.
there's really good examples of this
Mhm.
already occurring in Puketepapa. Like um, Oakley Creek has been phenomenal
Mhm.
in terms of a, an example of the community and the local board getting together and being like, we need to consider how we're um, creating flood resilience to
Yeah.
200
Flood
houses
resilience.
that surround it
Yeah.
going forward.
Mm.
And that has been massively successful. So um, it's projects like that that just we need to keep
Mm.
um, pushing forward on.
Particularly when in Puketepapa area, when you look at, it's a very diverse, it's a very community driven kind of area, which every area is. But then when it comes to, because it is affected by floods, affected by climate change also, it needs more work to be done. But more work, not just done, but also to be communicated to the people so that they don't drive away themselves that, hey, this area is not the best area now to live in because nothing happens here. Everything falls to the deaf ears, whatever we raise concern, and
Yeah,
we are not getting better equipment or value for our taxpayers' money as we always talk about. So then they drive to other suburbs. So what's your would how would you tackle this and handle this going forward? That what you see needs to be done more on that. How would you?
Yes.
Hmm.
So I think that's about ensuring we're getting community buy-in.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
yeah. And this is kind of the process that we run on projects. It's about actually ensuring that the community is along on the journey.
Yeah.
So they're behind the community, the project before it's even started on
Hmm.
the ground. And I think again, using the example of town Oakley Creek, that has been incredibly successful in terms of how that project was kind of driven and included the community.
Mm.
And I've subsequently worked on a project for Wesley Primary School, and it's incredible in terms of how that primary school has now taken ownership of that creek, and is now educating the students
Mm.
that go through there on the importance of it both ecologically and culturally, um, in order to ensure that the next generation also has the buy-in of why those kind of projects are important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, this is good. Rafaela, I want to now touch on some of the key things before we finish this session. What are your for all the listeners to understand, what are your three main priorities that you would draw and set yourself so that you can make Puketepapa a better place? What would be your three uh, priorities, if I have to ask you?
Yes. So, I mean, at a very high level, my
Yeah.
priorities is about ensuring that we're building livable neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so, and because of that, I think that's the three priorities that fall under that are then transport,
Hmm.
ensuring that um, we are creating uh, prioritizing active and public modes of transport,
Hmm.
in order to ensure that we're building for climate resilience going forward. So,
Hmm.
at a basic level, that's about ensuring that we've got safe footpaths for pedestrians,
Hmm.
making sure that we're making repairs to
Yeah.
existing streets,
Mm.
making sure that we've got safe road sharing for cyclists and
Mm.
cars, while still acknowledging, we're a car reliant city
Mm. Mm.
currently, so that change is not going to happen overnight. So we've got to find a middle ground in the interim, so that we don't get backlash on prioritizing
Absolutely.
public and
Absolutely.
active modes. And then it's about ensuring that advocating for good high density housing
Mm.
um, around um, public transport nodes, and ensuring that in the design of those housings, it's adequate for
Mm.
both climate resilience and building community.
Mm.
And then lastly, it's about ensuring that we're building good infrastructure. So I see infrastructure as being public amenity, ensuring that we've got adequate open spaces for people
Mm.
to
Mm.
live their lives, and those open spaces um, have been planned in such a way that people feel safe, and they can fulfill the activity that they require, that they might not necessarily have space for in their home.
Mm.
But it's also about ensuring that we're continuing to develop and update our infrastructure so that people are safe, our
Mm.
homes are safe, our businesses are safe going forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and with that transportation, I cannot resist to ask you this question, which is very critical for many businesses and small businesses, as we all have, including big small businesses, the premises around that and the parking around that, and with these new issues of, like, constructions or road infrastructure works been going on with that, parking has become a big hurdle for many businesses. And the question again here is, like, many businesses are not aware what is happening in their area and how it is going to affect them through these parking issues, because they are not aware that there is going to be road work. So there is going to be this, not enough communication. Or do you think there is been communication lacking somewhere, or it's there but it's not completely presented correctly? How do you gonna handle this? What do you think about this? for businesses, particularly, the part.
Yeah, no, I think there's been a big missing piece in communication,
Yeah,
and I think there needs to be strategies in place
correct,
that
correct.
assist businesses
Hmm.
during those disruptions,
Yes.
um, whether that's financial or understanding
Hmm.
um, how uh, traffic slash parking can be rerouted temporarily. All that needs to be very carefully considered at a strategy level and then communicated. So
Hmm.
um, I'm
Particularly, I faced myself, particularly when you want to attend your doctor or GP or your medical or your chemist, you want to go to have something from them. It becomes priority, but then there is a problem of parking that you can't navigate quickly because you don't know what's going on in that area, and they are trapped. Those GPs premises or those chemist premises are trapped in that parking issues, and then you have to navigate a lot of things. So it becomes a disruption. It's a disruption already there, but then when you want something to attend, it becomes another disruption for that person.
for sure. Like I mean, a big thing I talked about the other night is that like we need to remove the barriers that
Uh,
are stopping people from
yeah,
from
basic
it
communities.
from going to small businesses in
Mm,
our area at the moment. Um, a huge part of that is about ensuring that we're getting adequate public transport to those places so that people aren't as car reliant, but acknowledging that not everyone can take public transport through various
mm,
potentially health or accessibility issues. So ensuring that we've got a transport strategy that
mm.
actually responds to the varying needs of our community. And yeah, that's
Yeah, 100%. So, listeners, this is Rafaela for you, who has been standing for the Puketepapa local board elections, but also she's a strong advocate and well educated in the areas that really matters to us, particularly when it comes to living in a house, particularly when it comes to operating business from a premises. They all are construction, they all are buildings, and that's all related to her role as an architecture. I want to ask you this one final question is like, Rafaela, what do you think? There are governments after governments come, local government, central government, but then there is a mindset of every government and every local board. And then sometimes people like you who are well aware, well educated, well understanding the core issues, but then you want to have a progressive government or you want to fall into the conservative status quo type of government. How would you deal yourself with this kind of, are you on the side of the progressive way of government thinking ideology, or you are just going to carry on with the status quo, the traditional, or you would be prepared for the challenges that we face today every single day differently, right? What's your kind of way of style, I would ask you?
yeah. So I mean, fundamentally, I'm an optimistic
Hmm.
person for our future. So,
Okay.
and I think because of that, I lean in the progressive bucket. I am progressive. But ultimately, I've always been about achieving the best possible outcome, both for people and the planet. And
Mm,
because of that, that actually means that you need to work across the aisle to figure out how to make that happen.
mm,
So I have a very I mean, I have hope for the future, but I think this requires, actually getting everyone on board
mm.
on demonstrating why we need this to go forward.
Right.
And why,
I think that's what is needed, Rafaela, if you ask me, because what I have seen is like we need more engagement with the communities, whether it is business, whether it is individual, whether it is any related to, but we need more engagement from the councillors, from the local government and local board to the communities of different kinds, different nature, so that we can have what your visions are, a secure, safe kind of community, but also more avoidable risk that we can pose when the time comes. So more proactively, working towards that goal rather than making solving issues after the event. After the event is not the criteria, right?
It's yeah, it's the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff
Yeah.
has time and time not
So,
worked. So
so here is
yeah,
something I'm going to give you, Rafaela. Tell us something to all our listeners. What do you think why people should vote for you, and what really you are going to be doing it for them, and they are going to be looking forward to work with you? What would be your pitch? What's your pitch? Why people should vote for you?
I mean, I'm a very determined person. So ultimately,
Mhm.
I come from a place of optimism and advocacy, and I think it's through my experience of working with communities, working with extensive
Mhm.
stakeholder groups, is how we can actually find positive outcomes
Yeah.
and translate them into very practical solutions. So I'm an outcomes based person uh, that I think I've got, and I can demonstrate that through kind of my professional
I
expertise.
like that because action is something that we are lacking. We can talk, we can have slogans, we can have a lot of thoughts in our mind, but if those thoughts are not put into action, then those thoughts are remain only as thoughts. So I love what you said is actions and outcomes, because when you take action, then only you can expect an outcome. But if you don't take an action, there is no outcome, basically.
Exactly.
So I love that quote from you, all listeners. As you can see, Rafaela is all about action. Rafaela is all about outcomes. So I think if you vote, then you will get an outcome. If you don't vote, then you won't get an outcome.
Exactly.
That
That is a very nice segue.
Thank you, Rafaela, for this beautiful conversation. And I wish you all the best for these beautiful and voters and listeners. Please vote because this is your chance to vote and this is your chance to make a difference. But this is also a chance that you can get and expect an outcome if you vote. So, with that note, once again, thank you very much, Rafaela, for giving us this beautiful conversation to NZ World News. Appreciates your time and thank you very much. And we look forward and hopefully we'll see you again in spite of whether you win, lose, it's not the point. The point is you are in the community, you are making a difference in the community, you are trying to make an impact, and that's what matters because that's what you are, a person of action. So I appreciate you coming along and taking this action to give me an interview.
Amazing. Thanks so much for your time. Really appreciated it.
Thank you very much,
Thanks.
Rafaela. We will come back again if you whether you win or not, but we will come back to talk more about the community, talk more about what's really happening and what's really update that you can give us.
That
With that,
sounds great. Look
with
forward to
that
that.
note, I thank you very much once again.
Thanks so much. Appreciated. See you.